Hello, everyone, once again for another episode on our Facebook Live today, 1:30 every Tuesday Pacific Standard Time. All right, I've got a phenomenal guest with us today. You are in for a treat, and you are going to get a lot of quality information and support if you are thinking or presently running a brokerage within a brokerage. And I have to say this, you hear me all the time call it a brokerage within a brokerage, okay, where the industry tends to call it a team. I believe that certainly a team is the makeup of the individuals. But I have to tell you, the reason I believe so strongly that you're running a brokerage within a brokerage is because you're running a business. And I think you're going to really feel that today. Today, our guest is Matt Mullin, who runs the Mullin Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services out here in lovely Nevada, Las Vegas. Matt, how you doing today?
Great, unbelievable, unbelievable no matter what. Living one day at a time and one minute at a time some days in this business.
Yes, and in this crazy world we're in. So, you know what? Hopefully we're going to come to some new normal here in the very near future. We're crossing the corner. All right. Listen, first, I think we've got a lot to cover today, and I know you have a lot to share. Why don't we do this? Why don't you just start off by kind of giving the overall makeup of the Mullin Group and your overall brokerage. If you could share that, I think that'll give some context for the individual people, our viewers who are watching.
Sounds good. So overall, as a team, as the brokerage, we've got 2 full-time employees that are dedicated ultimately to the transaction management side of the business. Crystal, our manager, and Kathy, our full-time admin. We have 2 people dedicated to transactions. We have one, Kevin, who's sort of our marketing magician internally, is exclusively dedicated on the marketing side of the business, primarily listing marketing, and then ad hoc projects for associates. And then my mom, Frankie, who is a part-time administrator on our team and helps work in my database. And then we have 15 associates that sell. And in 2020, we did around 227 units, transactions, 2.5 million in gross commission income, and about 95 million in volume, which is sort of just a high level makeup of the team. But what I'm actually most excited about, and that's what I focus on every day, it's one of the goals I set for myself, is how deep does that success go, and are people that join the team succeeding? So in that production in the past, we had big years based on a major project or a corporate relationship, or 1 or 2 people doing it at a high level. But the numbers I just went over, we had 10 associates produce over 100,000 in gross commission income last year. We had 2 do over 250,000, and we had another 2 do over 350,000. So the thing and about 85, 90% of that production is primarily created from the associates with the platform.
Wow, that is amazing. Some people don't realize the depths. As an organization, we have approximately 3,500 agents, and about 1,500 of those sales executives are involved within a brokerage, a team. And you have had such amazing success year in and year out, okay, growing, tweaking, changing, evolving as the business changes, and you want to continue driving those different results. I have to tell you, rarely do you see so many individuals in one group having incredible success that you just shared. Can you kind of share, what do you attribute such broad success from so many of the sales executives that work with you?
Well, this has certainly been a process, a lot of trial and error, a bumpy road over the years. But I think really reflecting on this question, the biggest shift for me was a mindset shift in myself. And I realized the 3 most important things that I shifted in my mindset. Number 1, before any of this really started humming, I needed to be clear myself on what I wanted. So I needed personal clarity on what I want. What do I want to work on? What do I want my responsibilities to be? Who do I want to work with? How big of a business do I want to run? So that was number one, clarity on what I want. Two was I just need to have less answers and better questions, because the minute I let go of I need to know it all and I have to have answers for everybody, growth started showing up a lot faster when I stopped having all the answers and asked better questions. And three, I used to get really stressed out on outcomes. And I just stopped managing outcomes and focused on managing processes. And in managing the processes, I think I'll talk a little bit about the key processes that I've sort of committed to, but I decided I want to build processes that create time and clarity for each person on the team and allow everybody to focus on what they really want to do and what they love, and helps them actually get what they want personally, because it's a little different for everybody.
All right, so I've got to ask. I mean, that's powerful. Certainly, strong leadership. But can you share some of the specifics to get there? Because overall, clarity, collaboration, your people sharing, getting clarity not only on you but on what they want. What are some of the things that you're doing to create that?
Well, there's so many opinions, ideas, options, things I've tested out over the years. Over the last couple, I feel like I've gotten really clear that what I want to build, and quite frankly, what I believe has had the biggest impact on those that are participated in it, are our three core processes and systems. Number one is just the administrative systems of transaction management and marketing listing. And ultimately, that number one system that unlocks time. It unlocks time for associates to go spend more time with clients. It unlocks time for them to spend more time with the family, which will potentially raise energy and fuel production. So number one system, most important thing, how do I find more time? Through our administrative processes and marketing systems. How do we do highest and best use of individual time? Number two was peer collaboration and coaching. We have a very intentional way of meeting, and how often we meet and why we meet and how we communicate, feeding off each other, one-on-one meetings, group meetings. It's obviously there's constant change there of ebbing and flowing with availability and keeping things changing all the time because things get stale. And then three, opportunities, business development opportunities. I've never really been a huge lead providing team, although I am investing in building that a little bit more now, but it's third priority. The first two are what I've seen cause the most growth of the three major systems. So I look for that experience. I mean, I know that our systems are working when I hear things like an associate saying, I just went on vacation and had 5 deals in escrow and felt like I wasn't stressed out at all and I could be present with my family. So, but those are the three core systems.
Yeah. Now that is so powerful. And following, I mean, I've always known you're a process person. Can you tell us a little bit more about the specific creation of those processes? Clearly, they're working. And I think for everyone who's listening, I want to make sure that they can at least go through a few steps to start putting this together themselves. What would be your advice based on your three processes? What would I do to start those going effectively? I mean, learn from things that maybe that didn't work. What would be something that you would advise me to do to get those processes in order?
So I mentioned clarity a lot, and I talked about clarity at the individual level. So, I mean, that really comes out in that second system I mentioned of peer collaboration and coaching. And I think the first step on getting that clarity is running through the process of who am I, what do I want, what prices am I willing to pay, and really digging deep on it. This light bulb went off for me and helping first myself, but then person on the team run through the similar process. There was a quote that really just resonated from Einstein. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life believing it's stupid. And that really took me, because it was like, I spent so long thinking, oh, well, if that works for them, it's going to work for me. And it's just not the case. So the process is seeking superpowers and passions. And the process is sit down and what do you really love doing, and making a list. What's your ideal day look like, and having each person really walk through that. How do you want to spend the minutes of your day? What's the right flow? Who do you want to be talking to? I guess the best example of that is I did have an associate who joined a couple years ago and was producing pretty good, producing a level of maybe I'd say $60,000 to $70,000 a year in GCI, but was running a process and just grinding daily on internet opportunities, and was doing exactly what said should be done, a daily process of 3 hours a day of prospecting and following up and just grinding away, but not enjoying it and not having fun. And finally, we sat down and I just said, time out. What do you want? Who do you want to spend your time talking to? He said, well, I really enjoy more relationship-based business, and I haven't really pursued it. I just pursued these sources and never really dug into my relationships, which he had a good amount around town and just hadn't leveraged it. So we just did a whole switch up on sources and focused exclusively on relationship-based business, setting a goal of 5 coffee meetings a week with people in the sphere, getting a database plan together. And 12 months later, the production went up to about 100,000 in GCI. So 30% growth in production in way less time and with way less stress. So that's one example, but I'm a firm believer all the sources work but not if they're not aligned to the person. And so we have that direct type of communication through scheduled one-on-ones, and we talk about it regularly. We actually just this morning had our scoreboard meeting. So we have a fully transparent scoreboard. Every single person on the team can see what everybody's focus is for the year in terms of one word. You've talked about one word here before, and we big believers in it and use it. A personal goal, business goals, and then the specific activities that we believe will get there, and then real-time results. And it's fully transparent, and we talk about it. And I used to be totally allergic to accountability. I mean, I don't want to have the conversation. I lived in this place of, I don't want to talk about it. There's right and wrong. I want to look bad. But the more we engaged in that scoreboard conversation and had transparent scoreboard and had the mindset of, hey, it's either working or it's not, let's just talk about it. It was a freeing feeling. And so the scoreboard helps figure out fast, is it working or not? And if not, it's okay. Let's just make the tweaks and find the right alignment and move on.
Yeah. You mentioned, and I know you touched on it, but I really would like you to organize it for the people that are watching. From a standpoint of the meetings that you have, either get-togethers or one-on-one, can you just really quickly go through how often? I mean, I know that you've had 10 people long-term, and now you've brought on an additional 5 TAs. So they're in a process of learning and growing and getting their feet, firmly on the ground. What type of meeting structure do you have on a consistent basis?
So we just made changes because I believe in constant change, and I believe on listening to feedback. And the conversation I just talked about, it's either working or it's not. One of my favorite sayings that I heard is, the fastest way from point A to point B is through a conversation. And it's better to know than to not know, and it's better to know sooner rather than later. So with that mindset, there's really 3 types of meetings that we're holding right now. Number 1 is one-on-one. And that is either it's kind of as needed. We do at least an annual quarterly business planning or quarterly business planning one-on-one, depending on what's needed. That meeting doesn't start until we've gone through the process of answering some of those questions I talked about earlier. What's most important? What do you want? What areas you're looking to improve? Where are your passions? A very intentional series of questions before we even have a one-on-one to try to get that kind of clarity. So that's one type of meeting. The other one is, we used to meet about monthly as a group in person. The minute COVID hit, we went to twice a week. Then we backed off to once a week, and now we're meeting twice a month. But we have once a month, we have a results only meeting, which is the one I discussed this morning. And we basically will just look at the scoreboard that we put together and said, how's it going? On track? Not on track? Ahead of schedule? Nothing else gets talked about in that meeting other than I'm on track, I'm ahead of schedule, I'm off track, here's the changes I need to make, let's look at the results. So that's the intention of that meeting. And then we're going to do another once a month meeting that's very topic specific. The last thing in the world I want to do is have meetings for the sake of meetings. And so I'm always looking to be as intentional as possible with the agenda, encourage participation, because I know when the right minds are around the table talking on a focused topic, value is created. So that other meeting is we'll pick one topic that, based on everybody saying this is the most valuable thing I want to talk about, and once a month we'll meet specifically on that. A couple of months ago we were meeting on how to generate listings. A couple of months ago we were meeting specifically on listing presentation. This month, towards the end of February, we're actually going to meet on listing presentation, but more on listing presentation style through storytelling.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I love that your one-on-ones are as needed instead of these meetings that you just have because it's time. You now have a specific scenario challenge. I come to you and I say, I need to sit down. Okay, that's great because I think those are the most powerful meetings that you can have. So that's awesome. I have to put you on the spot because I think if we skip this area, it won't do everyone justice. And, there are some myths about our business, specifically running a brokerage and a team that I hear. And I want to get your feedback on these myths. Okay. The first myth is, you know what? It's all about leads. It's all about leads. If you're not providing your TA leads, okay, your team associate leads, don't start a team. Don't run a brokerage in a brokerage. It won't work. What is your comment to that?
Well, I've been in this business for 17 years. I've been running a team, I would say, for 9 to 10. And running a team intentionally, probably less than that. And I have never really been a huge provider of leads, but I feel like that's kind of like if somebody were to come to McDonald's and tell them, you know what, if you can't provide a nice steak and lobster dinner, don't even get in the restaurant business. You know what I mean? Like it's a business model decision. So I think you just have to decide on what business model that you're committing to. That's at least, and I admitted earlier, I want to expand. I was, on providing opportunities because I don't believe it's necessary if you're clear on the value. If you're clear on where is the value, who are you looking for, and are the right people there for the value that you're providing?
Well, see, that's just it. You're so focused on getting clarity of what's important to me if I'm joining your group. If you're providing me what I need and what I want, and we're clear on that, you know what? That's what's going to matter. That's what's going to be important to me. And listen, it's nothing that leads, I think, are organic. They happen. They'll just do it because you're busy people. But I love that you accomplished just under $100 million worth of volume. And your number one focus has nothing to do with leads. Not that you won't try and come up with ideas to generate more business. That's obvious. Of course, you're going to do that on an ongoing basis. That's great. All right. Another, myth I always hear is, it's all about split. It's all about the split. I mean, if you don't give high splits, because, so-and-so will, X company will, what is your take on that?
Well, I mean, it boils down to the right people. I believe if it's the right alignment of the person looking for the value that I am intentionally creating, it's not about the splits. It's about return on investment. It's about ROI. Am I getting do I believe this is the right fit to succeed? I mean, you know better than anyone, but the difference in splits anywhere at a certain level is no more than a deal or two a year, possibly in overcoming a difference. So I personally just believe that when somebody believes this is where I'm going to be the most successful, this is where I'm going to present myself to my clients and my customers the way I want, this is where I'm going to get the support that I'm looking for. Maybe I don't want to hire my own people. Maybe I don't want to incur the cost of managing and paying for administrative systems. You know, it's an individual decision on return on investment. And when that aligns, it's great. When it doesn't align, yeah, it's about the splits. If there's no clarity on value alignment, then it's about the splits. But if clarity's there on value alignment, I believe someone's going to stay as long as they're and join, as long as they're receiving value and having fun doing it.
Yeah. You know, there's an old saying, when there's an absence of value, people focus on price. And it's like anything else. But if you have the value and you're running an organization that is focused on providing the correct value for the correct people, it's amazing how that takes over. Well, listen, you've proved it year over year, having an incredible culture, which I think stems from everything that you're sharing with us today. One more, and this is less a myth, but more of a very strong fear that I've heard come back to me many times by lead sales executives who are thinking of starting a brokerage or have and run through this. And that is, you know what? I am not going to spend all this time training these agents. I get them up and running. I help them. And what do? Shortly right after, they leave. And I wasted all that time training that individual. What do you have to say to that?
Well, it's certainly a possibility, and it will happen at certain size, but I believe that it boils down to the process. This is kind of why I said manage processes and the business model over outcomes. My expectation is if I clearly understand what the individual is looking for enough to make the right decision to hire them. I got beat with this from someone. I was complaining about a situation a while ago, and it wasn't going the way I want, and there wasn't alignment. And somebody just looked at me and said, "Well, who hired him?" And that was a wake-up call. Oh, yeah, I did. So when I'm clear on what they're looking for, what any individual is looking for, and there's that alignment, and I'm clear on the goals, and we're talking about it, and we're growing. I think it's about dollars and process, than a particular model. If the dollars are there and somebody's earning what they want to earn and they're growing in the process and having fun, it stays. I also, when I think about my expectations are there will be turnover. If I'm super clear on, is this the right alignment for the person and for the way we're growing? And I stay focused on really good questions specifically with the person in front of me and take massive action with that over and over and over, the right people will join. The right people will leave. The right people will stay. And that's okay. And if my model is designed such that it depends on one particular outcome or one particular person, it's probably not the best model. So that's how I think about that.
Yeah,
Run the process. Trust the process.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's just so powerful. It goes back to what you said earlier about, people don't realize, and just use this split example again, when you really look at it, you're talking about one transaction, maybe two in a year, and that's what you're making your decision on, instead of really looking and getting that alignment and getting the support you really want for your business, your family, whatever the case may be is. So different. All right, go ahead.
All right, well, two thoughts on that. That's why I said it's about dollars as well as the experience you're having. I mean, could you imagine applying for a job and then you get it and they say, congratulations, you're hired and your salary is 5%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because 5% of what? Well, the revenue last year, you've been making 300,000. So is that okay with you? Well, yeah, okay, that's okay. Or, you're hired, your salary is 95%. Well, of what? Well, it's at $80,000 for last year. So it's about dollars and growth and having fun doing it. I mean, I almost quit the business because I wasn't having fun doing it. It was one of my best income years and worst personal years. So, and the other thing I just want to throw is how important that defining success when I meet with somebody, what is success for you? And if we get together and if we're 1 year from now, how will we know how will we know we've won? How will we know this worked? I think about the example of, hey, let's go meet at the park. Great. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. I'll see you there. And that's all the conversation. Like, let's get started and enjoy. Well, what park? What time? What are we wearing? What are we doing? So, just digging a little bit deeper on defining what success is. That was the biggest lesson I've taken, is it's not always about dollars. And sometimes it's about process. Sometimes it's about balance. And so.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let me kind of take that a bit further. All right. You clearly, your idea on process and culture and clarity is knocking it out of the park. So I got to believe everyone listening is thinking about this. Okay. So where do you attract these people? Where do you find and what do you attribute? Okay. Getting these right people. Because I think if you ask people, do you want the right people to join your group? Yes, I do. Okay, so I think we're all in agreement there. So what do you attribute having such success in attracting the right people?
Well, that's a great question, because originally I felt like, oh, I've got to have this super robust, complicated recruiting machine of messaging and technology and all this stuff in order to recruit or grow. And reflecting back on the best outcomes, the best alignments, the best people joining, it came from just telling the story of how we do what we do, and just describing what our day is like, what our meetings are like. We started actually recording some of our team Zooms through COVID, and have a little library of recorded YouTubes of what a meeting sounds like. And at this point in time, I've realized if I can describe exactly how we do things, what our meetings are like, and what's expected, and someone says, holy cow, that is not for me, perfect, because that means the system's working. Or somebody is going to say, that's what I need, and they're going to join. So really just tell the story more and show it through action. I like the well done is better than well said. So just here's how we do it. Full transparency.
Yeah, it's really easy for people to get busy, and we forget to tell our own story. And to your point, that can be very helpful in attracting people, because now you're getting your success out there. What I like to call leveraging up your success. And so I think telling this story is really powerful.
And one last thought on that. I sound like a brokered record on the clarity thing, but it boils down to clarity. If I know who I am looking for specifically, then I can ask and work through relationships. Who do you know that fits this profile? Who do you know that's looking for support in these areas? Who do you know that, maybe is looking for a little bit of more time in their life and they're working too hard? If I'm clear on who I'm looking for, then I can ask and work through relationships. Who do you know? And ask those questions. The other thing is, I think I'm so grateful for the people that we have that are we call mission control. Mission control is in the office. Kathy and Crystal sort of hold the glue together in transactions. But rather than defining a role and saying, oh, somebody says this is the job description you should have for a transaction manager, a lot of other people's opinions on what a role should look like or what a description. It's another process I ran. It's a list, basically. I run list 1. What do I love doing and want to do? And what are the only things I want to focus on? And then there's list 2. List 2 is what's everything that I know should be done, or that I'm really not that good at, or is not getting done. And that ultimately becomes the role description for, I need somebody that loves doing those things and that is really good at doing those things. So, and we thank you, Mark, because we've leveraged the company resources to use the company recruiter, headhunter to find. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, and for those of you who may not be aware of this, we have an exclusive relationship with a gentleman, Michael Herman, who runs his own headhunting company. And though he does other industries, we have an exclusive in real estate for our 4 markets in 3 states. And we've really negotiated with his help a great rate for our sales executives to hire support staff, management, whatever they need for their team or brokerage. And so thank you. And I get a lot of great reviews on Michael's efforts. So he's helped in all of our markets find people for their group. So great. Thanks. Um, you mentioned something to me, and you just got to have. I just want you to share because I think it ties into in many different ways to what you shared here today so far, and that is tell everybody about your 3-question rule. I love this. I think it's powerful.
forgot forgot about that. Yeah, I I'm working on this. That's why I said at the very beginning, one of the biggest mindset shifts that I had that led to a lot of this growth and a lot of these systems and processes came from less answers and better questions. So I'm trying to live by the 3-question rule, and I'm trying to encourage our associates to do the same. Uh, Before I open my mouth or say anything or am allowed to respond, I must ask 3 questions that start with how or what, period. And it is challenging, but it is eye-opening because I've caught myself in some situations where I want to launch into a response because I think I know the answer. But if I pause and ask 3 questions with how or what, I learned something that I didn't know, or I have another lens, or that wasn't even the issue that we were talking about. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing more of that.
Love it. Well, I got to tell you an inside story. So I'm at home, and my wife and my youngest daughter were getting into it, and I'm not saying a word because I've learned that helps. Okay, so I'm just listening, and finally they both say, "So, Dad, what's your opinion?" Okay. And they were both making statement upon statement upon statement. And I used your 3-question rule. I go, "You really want to know my opinion?" And I said, "Okay." I said, "I would each of you adjust the way you communicate with each other. And I would say you each have to ask 3 questions before making a statement. Because right there, all I've heard is statement to statement to statement to statement, and no one asked a question. So why don't you try that?" Okay. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how. I love that.
We well, I heard that here in a sales meeting at this company from Mr. John Joseph. Questions attract, statements repel. Questions attract, statements repel. It's burned into my head. So when I'm thinking, oh, the more I'm expressing opinions and statements, the more I'm pushing somebody away. The better questions I ask with how or what, that gets them really thinking about what's most important, what they're afraid of, the faster they're going to get clarity and make a decision.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't know if we'll get questions here today. One, Matt, I want to thank you so much for your time and support. I have just been in awe of your success year in and year out and growing. And it doesn't mean it was easy, and it doesn't mean we don't sometimes have to take a couple steps back to get a step forward, all that stuff. But that's leadership and that's business. I mean, it just is what it is. But you continue to evolve and be willing to change and grow. And your success has shown that it's being very effective. Any questions here today? I don't really see. I see some phenomenal comments coming through, but I don't see any direct questions here today. Well, I know if anyone has any questions, I'm going to speak for Matt, or maybe I better ask, is it okay if they reached out and wanted to talk to you about your success? Again, very much appreciate you being here today. Thank you for sharing and being so open to share your ideas and your processes. Very much appreciated. Of course, if you like today, then like, share, and follow as always. I do want to share next week, we have our own Delinda Crampton, who also runs a brokerage within a brokerage. And she's going to share innovative ways, okay, that she is using social media to spotlight local businesses. So if you're looking for different ways to be innovative and really spotlight your community, okay, and I'm going to tell you, Delinda is high performance, so I know she will share her ideas of how she's using it to drive more business. I appreciate everyone's time. Thanks for everyone being here. And Matt, thanks again. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.